Hi, this is Brendan Burns from Azure Container Service, and in honor of launching Kubernetes as a supported orchestrator in Azure Container Service, I wanted to show you just how easy it is to create a new Kubernetes cluster on Azure. All right, let's start out. We're going to use the AZ command line tool. So AZ, ACS, create orchestrator type is Kubernetes, of course. We're going to say the resource group that you want to put that in is ACS Kubernetes. Give it a DNS prefix for all the machines. That's going to be, I'll just say Brendan. And we'll give it a name. Be Kubernetes. And that's it. I'm going to hit that. It takes a few minutes for it to launch up. So we'll jump ahead in time to when the cluster is ready. All right, we're back, and as you can see, the Kubernetes cluster has been successfully created. Now let's get the credentials for that. We're going to go and we're going to say location is West US. So this is going up to our cluster, downloading the kubeconfig file necessary for talking to the cluster. And at this point, we can now say kube control get nodes. And as you can see, we have a fully operational cluster running up on Azure. And so now that we have our cluster going, we'll take a look and see what we can do with it in the next video. Thanks for your attention. Bye. Hi, I'm Brendan Burns from Azure Container Service, and I'm going to show you what you can do with Visual Studio Code and the Kubernetes cluster that you've just created up on Azure. So I have here a simple Node.js application. I'm going to build a Docker container from that application. I'm going to follow best practices and do that with a Git hash. So there's my Git hash. I'm going to take that, copy it, and say docker build -t. All right, it's built, and I'm going to push that image up to the Docker Hub. All right, and now I've heard about, I've created this Kubernetes cluster. I've heard about it. I haven't really played around with it very much, so I'm going to try and just run this application. So with the Visual Studio Code integrations we have, we can simply say Kubernetes run. All right, so what's going on under the hood is Visual Studio is actually looking at this application that I have, finding out the name of it in the Docker image and creating a deployment in Kubernetes. Now, I don't really necessarily know what a deployment is, but it says it's created this deployment named single node. So let's find out a little bit more about that. So we can say Kubernetes describe. It's going to say, what do you want to load? Let's load deployments, simple node. All right, so we have there a description. It's got one replica. It's available already, so that's great. But I actually want to make some changes. Maybe I want to scale this thing up to have 3 replicas, so I can actually say Kubernetes load. When I want to load, let's load deployments, simple node. All right, so that's going to create it's going to pull down that JSON object that represents this deployment. Well, Kubernetes objects have a lot of different fields, and it's sometimes hard to remember exactly what they're for. So we can say Kubernetes explain. It's going to activate the explanation API. And now when I mouse over different fields, it's going to tell me, all right, well, namespace defines the space within each name, within which each name must be unique. So let's keep looking. What is this here? Oh, replicas. All right. So what does replica say? The number of desired pods. Perfect. All right. So let's change that to be 3. We'll save that. Now we can say Kubernetes apply, and it's been reconfigured. Now let's go back and say Kubernetes describe. Now what you'll notice here is it didn't actually prompt me for anything, and that's because it's taking a look at the context in the editor, finding the object that I'm interested in is already inside the editor and just doing a describe there. And so now you can see there's 3 pods running and 3 available, so our deployment has been scaled up. But running your application is only part of the excitement. The real excitement is turning into something that other people can see. So we're going to actually say Kubernetes expose. And again, this is going to pull that deployment from the JSON object that I have open in Visual Studio Code. It's exposed that application as a service. So I can go over to my web browser where I have a proxy running, and I can say, okay, v1 namespaces default services simple node proxy slash proxy. All right, so now we have here the text of my application. If we go back to my application, you can see that that's exactly what's running here. So how did that actually work? Well, if we load up the service that I just created, all right, we can see here it's got port 8000. Well, where did that port 8000 actually come from? Well, the port 8000 came from, if I go over here, it's actually introspecting this Docker file, and it's seeing the expose 8000 inside the Docker file and using that to then create the service that it uses. So that's pretty cool, the integration of the application definition with the deployment of that application. So now what I'm going to do is I actually want to show you how easy it is then to upgrade or update your application. So we're going to check in, we're going to go over to the Git, and we're going to check in our configuration objects into Git. We'll say added config. That's a good thing to do. All right. And then we're going to go over to our application and we'll say, hello world, this is a really cool test for Brendan, KubeCon, and YouTube. So let's save that. All right, now we'll go back over to Git. We can see here, there's some changes here. We'll add those in, say updated app, save that, go back to our terminal. We're going to go get that Git hash again. So now we can see it's a different Git hash. Copy that, build it. All right, that's built. Now let's push it up. All right. So it's fully pushed. Let's take that same Git hash that we had, and we're going to go into our deployment. We'll scroll down, get rid of the terminal, need it anymore. We'll scroll down to where we have the image definition here, and we're going to go and we're going to put in the new Git hash. We'll save that. Now we can say Kubernetes apply. And oh, that's right. Error happened because I need to actually go and delete this resource version because, of course, we did a previous update. Try that again. It's been reconfigured. All right, now if we go back over to our proxy over here, we can hit reload, and we have our newly updated application. So I hope you see how Visual Studio Code and the Kubernetes integrations can really integrate both the act of building and deploying your application into a single environment and make it super easy for you to use the Kubernetes clusters that you create on Azure or really on any platform. Visual Studio Kubernetes is available. It's up on GitHub, and I hope you enjoy it. Please send me some bugs and patches. Thanks. Bye.